For the Haters presents Wallet Therapy. I'm Becky, the spender.
And I'm Alex, the coach. We give money advice for the everyday person. So join us with your budget and your baggage because money doesn't have to be messy forever. Search For the Haters and subscribe today.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wallet Therapy. Becky here, and I am joined by Alex. What's up, Alex?
Hey!
How's everyone doing? How are you doing?
I'm excited to be here. We have a fun topic to talk about today.
We are talking about money and relationships. And let me tell you, I have been recently being a lot more strict with my money, but it does feel like while my bank account is improving, my social life is a little bit strained. And I've said no to things. I've said no to Leah. I feel like I've joined a cult because I'm tracking everything now. I've literally never looked at like my transactions as much as I have in this past couple weeks. Is this normal to feel that kind of strain from a social perspective when even like money is starting to go up?
Definitely. So it's something that no one really talks about. Getting your finances together can actually make your relationships with your partner, your spouse, your husband, your wife, it can actually make those relationships harder at first. Money is the top causes of stress in relationships. 70% of couples argue about money more than they do about chores. But money isn't the issue. It's that nobody has taught us how to talk about it. And so you see couples and relationships, and they're just not having conversations.
And there's probably a lot of money infidelity, right? Like people spending money without people knowing and, taking out money of accounts. I'm excited to get into the conversations of what money can look like in a relationship as well. And this, even if you're not in a relationship yet, this episode can be good for you for when that time comes.
Yeah, and you're not becoming boring, you're becoming intentional. So we'll talk about how do you talk about finances, and not just with your spouse, but with friends too.
We are changing the conversation, and that's like a theme through Wallet Therapy, right? Like we are changing this conversation around money and making it easier to have and less of a awkward conversation. I have recently tried to bring up budgeting to Leah, and I think she felt like I was just auditing her because I was like, hey, I joined Monarch. So that's what I decided to do because Monarch has a couples, like you can both. So now we both can see each other's bank accounts and both, because we have joint accounts. So it was hard to understand. But that app allows you to, and I'll put a referral code in the chat. It gets you, or in the description, because it'll get you % off if you're interested in that. But you can label accounts as shared or as singular. But with that, I was like, what did we spend $450 on from Amazon? And Leah can be a defensive person. So she was like, well, $350, that was Bex's formula, which we need, right? But the way that she responded, you could tell she felt like I was like questioning her spending, which I wasn't. I was just trying to make sure that I was like categorizing things correctly. But it was funny because she was like, she's almost a year old. So she's like, I think that this is the last time we'll have to buy formula, which is crazy. And then she was like,
it's crazy.
And thank my boobs for the first 6 months. So,
and I think that is so common for that to happen when you're just starting to heal your money story. You're getting into creating that spending plan. You're getting that system in place. And now you maybe have become the other extreme where you weren't looking at all and now you're looking at everything, especially if you're the one, like in your instance, you're the one taking the lead on it. So she hasn't really been involved in like, here are the steps, here's what we should do. And all of a sudden you're coming her with questions about where is our money going. One of the things that I'd like to recommend to do with your spouse is before you get into the nitty gritties of where is your money going, talk about your goals. Have a vision date and start with your dreams, not numbers. And ask yourselves, where do you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Because it's really those long-term shared goals that will track back to the spending plan, because now you have a shared vision of this is why we're looking at our money and shaping our budget and spending plan so that we can reach, it could be a retirement goal. It could be we want to buy a house goal. You want to save for a child's education. It could be a fun goal. Like we want to go to Europe on a huge vacation that we need to save for. So having those shared visions and those shared goals are really important.
Step number 1.
Yes. The second thing that I would recommend couples do is do a monthly check-in. And don't make the monthly check-in an hour-long session where you're drilling into everything. Make it really quick, maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And what you want this to be is consistent and quick. So you want it to be every month, 15, 20 minutes. And this is just awareness, not judgment. Try and go into it with that frame of mind and be conscious of how you're asking questions or how you're looking at the numbers so that nobody in the conversation feels attacked. And then the last thing I would recommend you do with your spouse is an emergency huddle. So if something comes up unexpected, get with your spouse and figure out how you are going to handle that money emergency. And again, no blame, just solution. This could be, we just talked about having emergency fund. If you have one in place, maybe you have separate emergency funds, maybe you have a shared one. In that emergency huddle, figure out, are you pulling from that? Are you pulling from somewhere else? And again, no blame. The vision date, the money check-in, and the emergency huddle. And there's a theme for all of them, which is don't have secrets. So this is a really challenging part for some people because there's a lot of shame and guilt around your own spending habits. And I think that couples that have separate accounts and don't have complete transparency, I personally don't think there's anything wrong with having separate accounts, but I do recommend that you don't keep any secrets. So you don't have to merge everything, but you must share information because it's the secrets that will cause the relationship stress. It's not going to be the numbers.
And something that I would think is also counterintuitive is if the financial plan itself is creating tension or more isolation, it's probably too extreme for one person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or both people.
Yeah, the goal isn't control, it's being aligned.
Yeah.
And again, what works for one couple may not work for you. So even listen to us, like you have, it sounds like separate accounts and joint accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Derek and I have all joint accounts and there is no wrong answer. It's whatever works in your situation to help you both reach your goals.
But so the important part is to start with that vision, not with numbers. Like, where are we trying to go? I think, honestly, joining this Monarch was super eye-opening. We spend a lot of money a month, like, combined. So, like, when we were talking about lowering our overhead, in my head, our overhead was here. And then, like, our overhead is actually 20 steps above that, which is wild to, like, actually see those numbers put into groups.
Yeah, and that's where, not that you and Leah were keeping secrets, but you didn't have visibility. And I think it's important as a couple, like you have joint goals for your future, for Bex, and it's important to understand each other's finances, even if they are in separate accounts, because I don't think any relationship will ever be 50-50 all the time. And I don't think it's fair to expect, even if you're both putting in a joint savings, to do it 50-50. I think you have to figure out, that's part of the conversation, figure out what makes sense for you. Because unless you're making the exact same money and all the bills are exact same, I wouldn't expect anything to be 50-50.
Fortunately for us, I just started making more money than her, but up until now, we have been pretty similar. And if anything, she was making more money than me for a while. But I think that's an interesting conversation too, right? Like, I think a lot of people are put into a scenario, and this is 100% preference. There is no right answer to this, but I do feel like it merits a conversation around it of, does someone's income affect how much percentage they're expected to put into shared bills? I have really good friends that they do a percentage of like 30% of their paycheck goes into their mutual account, and one of them makes twice as much as the other. So that 30% is going to be different for both of them. It's like finding what your mutual overhead cost is. And then I personally think it should be broken down that way. I don't think that if I'm just going to use round numbers. If Leah's making $100,000 and I'm making $200,000, like, and our bills are say $10,000, I wouldn't expect for her to contribute equally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is really fair. And if you think about it, so for anybody out there who today, they are in a scenario where you're expected to put in 50-50 and maybe you're making half the amount your spouse is, that is likely a cause of financial stress in your relationship, and also a cause of financial infidelity, because there's so much stress on that person who's making less money that they probably are getting into debt because now their spouse wants to go out to dinner or do a trip and they're like, sure, I'll just pay 50%. But in the background, they're putting 50% on a credit card because they're expected to pay 50% of the bills, and it's just not aligning. I would agree with that approach. I think a percentage reduces that stress and makes it more fair.
Yeah. I also think it like you should be having conversations if someone is requiring, like, and you're in a relationship and someone's requiring you or asking you to pay 50-50, but also asking you to live at their level of means. That's like also a unfair situation to be in, right? Like choosing to live in a $3,000 a month house or apartment or rent when you could only afford like a $1,000 apartment or rent, and then you're forced to be paying $1,500 because they can afford to be paying that. So
yeah, 1,000%.
A lot of factors kind of come into place there. But what about friends, right? Like, how do you have conversations with friends? I like to call it like the friendship tax, right? Like a friend that wants to go out for an expensive. I am the friend that wants to go out, so. And then but then if another friend only has a certain amount of budget to do that, like how do you try to manage those situations?
I think it's pretty common that social circles have a spending standard, and that's like your friendship tax. But for you being the one who's more so the instigator of spending in your friendship circle, if one of your friends were to say, hey, Becky, I can't do dinner or I can't do brunch this weekend, can we just grab a coffee or go for a hike, or depending on the weather, go for a walk? Like, would you be okay with that? Or would you be mad that they didn't go to brunch and now you're going for coffee instead?
One, all I care about is spending time with my friends. Money doesn't have to be included. So would be totally fine. But also two, unfortunately, I'm the person that would be like, I'll pay for you. Don't worry about it. I want my friends to enjoy life. If I have money to help them enjoy life, then I will do that.
Yeah. So that is a tactic to think about for listeners out there. Don't expect your friend to be Becky and just pay for it. And Becky, you might be cutting back now that you're tracking all your dollars and month.
Yeah.
But that's a tactic, which is just a counter offer. So if one of your friends is trying to plan a trip or it's a dinner or something, just think of something that you actually can afford and counter offer. And if they are a true friend, they will respect that. Like you said, they just want to spend time with you. And if they don't, if it's somebody who's pushing back, then maybe that's a friendship that you want to look at and say, like, does this really bring me joy still? And are we maybe growing apart now instead of growing together?
Fair.
And just think back to what your goals are. So saying no today is saying yes to future you. It's so important to have those set goals so that if you're saying no to a dinner with a friend and you're doing coffee the next morning instead, that's you saying yes to hitting your retirement goal plan or getting that amount of money saved for the house that you want to buy or your kids' college education. Those are things to just remind yourself when you're saying no that you're actually saying yes to something else.
The counteroffer changes everything, right? It's not rejection, it's just redirection of it, which I love.
Yeah. You can value your friendships and your finances at the same time. It's just about finding that happy balance or finding new friends.
I also have realized that my phone might be my most expensive relationship. I'll see something on Instagram, something on TikTok, something that someone's using and I need to find it. And I suddenly feel like I need it, right? Like I need to go on that vacation. How do we change that?
We've talked about this before, which is this is like the keeping up with the Joneses issue. It's a comparison trap. You are on social media and it is increasing your impulsive spending. That is what it's designed to do. These social media platforms are out there. They can be so beneficial if you use them correctly. But if you're on there, there are going to be ads. There are going to be influencers trying to get you to buy things. And there's stats that show that social media platforms increase your impulse spending. Know and understand that and recognize that and do what you can to limit that. I recommended take your payment cards off of your phone. That's a really probably hard one to do, but a really effective one to do because the fact that you see something and you want it right on your phone, now you have to go find your wallet, get your card, type in your numbers to actually get the thing. It forces that pause to actually have a reset and think, do I really want this thing that bad? The other piece to think about with social media is you're seeing highlights of people's lives. You're not seeing their credit card statements. Just because you see somebody always having the newest, the best, the greatest, the biggest, that does not mean that they are not drowning in debt behind the scenes.
Facts. Literally.
You can also implement the 24-hour rule. I know with convenience, with Amazon Prime, you literally can have anything at the touch of a button. It could sometimes even show up within the same day, depending on where you live. But generally, unless it's something like running out of diapers, which you and I can relate to right now, there's not many things that you actually need right away that you're buying. So implementing a 24-hour rule, put it in the cart, come back in 24 hours. Do you still want it?
Mm-hmm.
That's been a big change in helping reduce our Amazon spending. Because I think we talked about it where after Remy was born, we started spending a little bit more than our spending plan allowed in Amazon. And so to bring it back down, we started putting everything on a shopping list. And then at the end of the month, so unless it's something like diapers or wipes, we'll buy those right away. But for everything else, it just sits there. And at the end of the month, we'll look to see if we still need it.
Yeah. So basically, my phone is like almost like a toxic friend right in my pocket that keeps encouraging me to spend money. So I might be a phone to some people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your environment shapes your spending.
Wow. Food for thought on so many different levels here. So we got a message from Anonymous. She's over 50 and just told her husband she has $10,000 in credit card debt. He suggested separate fund accounts and a shared household account. She's ready, but she doesn't know where to start. Alex, how do we help her?
I think it's really important to recognize she has already taken the hardest step, which is having that conversation. Her husband did not know that she had 10 grand in debt. And I will call out that I appreciate his reaction. It didn't sound like he was drilling her or mad at her about it. He just recommended a solution in terms of, okay, I see that. How about we have separate fund accounts and a shared household account? For this person, I think what is important is to recognize, and I think it actually shows their money personalities. If he has great credit and no credit card debt, and she has 10 grand of credit card debt, I think it's pretty clear that she needs to self-reflect and look at her own spending. Now, that's an assumption. We could go back to our earlier conversation to say, how much are each of them making? And how much is she being told to pay towards bills? Is it 50-50 and her husband makes double the money? So that's a great place to start. Go back to the conversation if that's the case and reevaluate, maybe using the percentage. So they're both putting in a certain percentage of their income.
I agree with that take.
If that's not the scenario and she has a spending problem, now we're back to the self-reflection and making sure that she is changing her behaviors. So going back to our earlier episodes, for her to put in her spending plan and put in her system in place so that she can stay within budget. So whether that's an app or a spreadsheet or separate accounts, which her husband is recommending. I think that's a great idea. They can both have fund money accounts, and one account for household bills. What I would also recommend is that she has a separate debt payoff account because she needs to attack that 10,000 in credit card debt. That's costing her money. And so that's a high priority for her to take care of. Now, the other place that I would say, and this is back to a relationship conversation, which is she may need to reduce her lifestyle a little bit right now for the foreseeable future while she attacks that credit card debt. And her husband should understand that. If they want to have separate fund money accounts, she may have to say no to some things that he wants to do. And he can choose, like you, to pay for it. Say, hey, I have extra money in my fund money account. I'll cover it. We don't have to do 50-50 for this, and still do the fun thing that he wants to do. But I think it's important that for her to share what her plan is with him so that if she does have to say no, he understands that it's because she's prioritizing her finances and tackling that credit card debt. And I think he'll respect that.
Hopefully. He has to, right?
And avoiding these types of conversations ends up costing more than having it. Because if you're hiding something like that, that will just continue to build up. You have a life partner, potentially, if you're married to them, or even if you're not married and you've agreed, like, we want to be together forever, that's somebody that is in it for the long run, and they should want you to be successful with all aspects of your life, and that includes your finances. So she starts with getting those accounts in place. Have those, the household account, the personal spending account, and the debt payoff account, and having the conversation with her husband to make sure they're aligned on their goals and her plan now to get out of credit card debt.
And if she listened to the last episode, she can choose either the avalanche or snowball effect that we went over in the debt. So if you're listening and you're the one that wrote this in, make sure you listen to that one about how to pay off that debt. I'm 20 years younger and I'm doing the same thing. It's literally never too late to stop this cycle. So,
yeah. And it's not about perfection, it's about being on the same team.
Literally, I'm officially scheduling a vision date, but I think I'll add some wine to it with Miss Leah Roney. And that's not all, folks. That's everything for this week of Wallet Therapy. Hope you guys are loving this. If you are interested in joining our more private community, we host live sessions once a month on Patreon. So it's patreon.com/Becky Hader. Come and join. If you have questions for Alex specifically and you want access to her, you can join our Discord and ask her in there. Alex, any final thoughts for you?
My final thought would be money conversations with your partner can feel awkward only until they change your life. So have one today.
Go tell someone you love one of your financial goals today. Making it public makes it real. Love you, mean it. See you guys next week. Alex, a pleasure as always. Bye.